Welcome to the Word of Life podcast, a ministry of Word of Life Church located in LeSueur, Minnesota. From sermon audio to midweek content and much more, we hope you are blessed by what you hear. For more information or to donate, please visit wordoflifemn.com. Now, enjoy this week's episode.
Well, we want to welcome all of you listeners to another episode, I believe I can say it, a Christmas Day.
That's right.
Episode of
Special edition.
The Word of Life podcast. We are so excited that you're here with us on this Christmas Day. I would love to know how many of you are trying to get out of some sort of family gathering right now, and you're sitting in the other room.
It happens.
It does happen.
Nick would know.
What? Are you serious?
Oh, yeah.
No.
No.
This is a super special episode of the Word of Life podcast. We are so excited that you are here today, and our special guest
host.
Yeah, she gets to kind of flip the tables on us this episode. Yeah, she's not only a guest, she's a special guest host. Brittany Olson, welcome to the Word of Life podcast.
Welcome to the Word of Life podcast.
Thanks. I'm very excited to be here. I was honestly a little jealous when I heard you two were doing this, and I didn't get to be on it right away. So I'm very happy to be being the host this week.
Well, you're a podcast lover of the format anyway.
Aficionado.
Yes, but more the crime, spooky stuff. And I don't know if I should be admitting that on Christmas.
In another life, Brittany was commuting an hour each way for work, and she got turned on to podcasts.
Because I needed something, yes.
To maintain sanity?
Yeah, 50 minutes, and no kids. I mean,
man.
You think I would be, in heaven, but I needed something.
Yeah. Something going in the background.
Something, yes.
I do stay awake better when, when there's something, conversational happening.
Yes.
We were just talking about that in the car today, about Jay and I's run-ins with narcolepsy.
Oh yeah, for the 3-year period that I had to go caffeine-free living.
Ooh.
Yeah, Jay and I, we realized that we had more stories of almost falling asleep or falling asleep in vehicles. Maybe it's even to the point where it's just not that funny anymore. It's maybe you guys need to get some sleep. But those are stories for another day.
That's right. That has nothing to do with Christmas.
Brittany, we are so excited that you're here. If folks don't know, did you hear this story? Here, I won't spoil our surprise quite. Did you hear this story, Jay, this last week of people have been watching WCCO 6 o'clock news all through the pandemic?
Okay.
Have you heard this story about the outpouring of negative comments that WCCO has received because of Frank Vassalero and Amelia Santinello not social distancing on the 6 o'clock news, but those folks don't know that they're married?
Are you serious?
Yeah.
I mean, they don't have the same last name. Maybe a little credit.
Right,
maybe
yeah.
just a little.
A simple Google search will just do the trick, though. I mean, it would take less time to complain. It would take less time to write a complaint than it would be just to Google, what's their relationship?
Yeah. So we don't want those complaints.
Way to keep it clear. That's great.
Bring it back. We don't want those complaints about us social distancing, although you can't see us right now. But what I do want to say is, Brittany, we're married.
Apparently, yes.
We are.
It's been a couple of years now.
I have a couple kids. I think that qualifies.
Yeah, and so super excited to have my wife on today, not only as our guest, but as our guest host. But before we get started, Brittany, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, where you come from, what do you do, how'd you come to Word of Life?
You thought you were the
I
you
was
thought
not
you were the
prepared
only
for
one.
this.
You
No.
thought you were the only one coming with prepared questions.
I thought I was going to be the one asking the questions, but no, I can do that. I actually grew up for most of my life, I guess I remember, as a middle and high schooler in Delano, Minnesota. So Tiger, and then met my lovely husband here through Inspiration Point, which that's...
Yeah, did you know Inspiration
I did know
Point?
that. I did know that, yeah.
So, and we did the long distance relationship through college.
But technically you are a camp couple. That's what they call them at Inspiration Point.
You know,
It's a stretch.
you know what's funny is when I was on staff at Inspiration Point, they told about a former staff member. This was a lesson that they were giving you on going on day camps and how you should interact with your host family on day camp.
Yep.
And they used this former staff member as an example that he had become friends with his host family, and through that relationship then became the youth pastor at that church. And so when they taught us in staff training, they said, be good to your host family, because you never know, you could get a job out of it.
Wow.
And then Brittany and I met in the summer of 2006, and my understanding is since then it has been be good to your host family, because they might become your in-laws. Yeah. And so that's how we met. Yeah, Brittany was my host family.
Yeah. Yes, we were. He slept in my brother's bunk bed, I believe.
I did.
And look at you now, guest host on the Word of Life podcast.
Oh boy. Anyways, but yeah, so I during that time we were long distance relationshiping.
Yeah.
Sure, we'll go with that word. English major here, you know. I was getting a degree in education at University of River Falls, and went into teaching after that, and kind of jumped right into being a youth pastor's wife, and moved a couple times to Minot, North Dakota, and then wanted to come kind of back home, so moved back down this way and got a job in Belle Plaine and became a Tiger again, which I think is super funny.
That is cool.
Yeah. So I tell the kids all the time, like, I'm a Tiger, I just wasn't a Belle Plaine Tiger. So they kind of accept me. Yeah, and then now we're in with Word of Life and really enjoying our kids' age and all that fun stuff. But I think I need to steal this interview back from you too, because I think that was my job, wasn't it?
Well, and we should set up. The point of this is kind of a grab bag, potpourri style. It is Christmas.
It is Christmas.
It's the end of our
Advent podcast series.
It
The
is.
midweek Advent series, yeah.
And so we wanted to recognize that. We didn't want to leave off the 5th day of Advent, and so we're here today. This is also Q&A with Pastor Jay.
Yes.
And we might get to those in a little bit too, but we thought the best way to go about it was to invite Brittany on as the guest host, to flip the tables, as they say.
Yes.
So Brittany, we pass it over to you.
Sounds good. I will take the baton. Well, I think, you guys just kind of jumped into this podcast and didn't really get a chance to say, hey, here we are. So I really think that you guys should give us little clips about your journey to Word of Life, LeSueur, Minnesota. So Pastor Jay, do you want to start?
Wow, that's yeah. So I have the huge privilege that I've gotten to pastor churches from coast to coast, from Rhode Island all the way out to California and a bunch of places in between, and I was co-pastoring a church with my dad in Iowa, and Word of Life gave me a call, and it took a while. It took a while to get me back up to Minnesota, but here we are and having a great time, hanging out in LeSueur and Henderson and the area, living south of Minneapolis, and and we're just digging it and having a great time.
Cool. I mean, I know your story, but do you want to share yours as well, Nick?
Yeah, so I don't know if our whole congregation... it's been funny. I started June 1st.
Yeah, while we were closed.
Yeah, really in the middle of the pandemic here.
Yeah, we hadn't even started, in person, like on-site services at that time, because I just came across the video, when I was going through my photos the other day.
And so I don't know how many folks know kind of where we've been. I have been in youth ministry almost all of my adult life. I have served churches, not really coast to coast, but I've served churches all up and down the Midwest. And so, I've been in churches in Saskatchewan and Minneapolis, in the oil field in North Dakota, Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and then in Minot, North Dakota. And then after we got done in Minot, we took a little bit of break from vocational ministry and just kind of wanted to figure out what else was out there, and did some odd jobs in those couple of years, and then came to Word of Life. We've been, when did we start going to Word of Life just for church?
Well, when we were living in Delano, it was a little sparse for a little while, but that would have been after Elle was born. And that was
just because it was spotty doesn't mean it didn't count.
well, that's true. But
We were commuting over an hour.
I know.
To come to worship gatherings.
So that would have been, she was born
summer.
2017, so that would have been fall of 2018? Yeah. Yes.
Wow.
I know. It doesn't feel like that long.
It doesn't feel like that long.
It is.
But probably the job that was most notable during that time was I was a Honda salesman.
Yes, you are.
For a large car dealership here in the Twin
Absolutely.
Cities.
Yeah.
And was loving that. And then all of a sudden, people
Not only loving it though, but like, not to mention you sold cars, but man, you had a lot of God opportunities and some amazing conversations with people.
Yeah, it was wild. I was known as Pastor Nick around the dealership, which is funny because I'd never been called Pastor Nick up until that point when I was working at the car dealership. And yeah, the Lord blessed. Boy, if that doesn't sound like a pastor, I don't know what does.
Thank you.
There were just opportunities to talk.
That's what I said
about Jesus.
Exactly.
Well, I remember that. He'd come home all the time and be like, they asked me stuff. Like, that just doesn't always happen sometimes in other jobs. So.
No, but it does happen, when you're in the place that, talk about sounding pastor, when they're in the place that God wants you to be.
For sure. Those
Those opportunities are going to happen. And the conversations, so it's not like your time as a car salesman was illegitimate. It wasn't. Matter of fact, I think God legitimizes it with these gospel opportunities.
Yeah.
And then the opportunity, Eric Smith felt the call to go to Lutheran Brethren Seminary.
So excited that he's there.
Amazing.
But we miss them.
Well, yeah. Yeah, that's a whole other, my connections to Word of Life. We could do a whole podcast on, the relationships that God was starting for me at Word of Life.
The number of guests we'd have to bring in.
Yeah. What was that old TV show? Was it This Is Your Life?
Oh, man.
Yes. 8th grade teacher.
That's right. And then, there's tears
That was a
involved.
game show?
Oh, you remember
No,
this?
it's not like a game show, but it was an actual show.
Yeah.
And they'd bring back like 3 to 5 people from your life,
Wow.
and you wouldn't see them, but they'd be talking, and then all of a sudden they'd come on the stage, and the realization on somebody's face would be like, "That's my 8th grade teacher," or
What story do they have to tell about me, right? Yeah.
it's crazy.
Listeners, if you know what the name of that show is, drop us a comment on Facebook or something.
That'd be awesome.
But anyway, yeah, the people that I met back in 2006 was the first time I think I visited, or 2006 was the first time I ever visited Word of Life, and the folks that were welcoming back then was the Mootses and the Carlsons, and at that time Wes and Anya Asham, and little did I know that teenage Nick would end up in Le Sueur, and we are.
On the Minneapolis, we like hung out with Mark in the youth group.
That's right. Yeah.
So it's like we've went to the candy store, right? Something like that day. Yeah.
So we're new here, but we're not new here, which is kind of the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
So
That's awesome.
So my next question, I'm hoping to get like a good response from. I know I've enjoyed. I think you guys have a really like dynamic duo kind of going on here in the podcast. So I would love to hear, because I think you two have definitely heard of each other and met before you worked together. So what were your first impressions of each other?
like before we worked with each other?
Yeah, like, because I remember my first impression of Jay, and you know what my first impression was of you.
Uh-oh.
So, another time.
Whoa.
What was your first impression of Jay?
It was when he was speaking at YC.
Yeah.
And we would have been, what group were we with, Minneapolis?
Yeah. Shout out Ebenezer Lutheran Brethren
Yes,
Church.
we were with Minneapolis. And I just, okay, Jay, Heidi's probably going to shake her head when she hears this, because I'm like, making me feel good here. You were speaking, and I was like, dude, he's really cool. Like, that'd be really cool to work for him someday. Like, if Nick worked for him, I think I'd really like him. Never met you before in my life before. Had no idea. And, like, you owned an ice cream shop, and I was like, yep, this guy is, like, we need to connect with this guy. So, like, very good first impression.
That's awesome.
Like, seriously,
not all first impressions of me are the same.
We laugh because we're like, Nick, I think you remember, I think I turned to you in the audience, was like, I really like that guy. I wish you worked for him someday. And lo and behold, here we are.
I have made other offers to Nick to come and work for me. This wasn't the first offer.
I do know that, yes.
Yeah, that's right. I don't know about first impression of Jay. My first memory of Jay is probably that same youth convention.
Yeah.
Now, I was on the committee that asked you to speak at that, but I didn't know you very well. But this is such a dorky story.
And mine wasn't?
Well, no, but so I get energetic when I speak, as does Jay. And as a young guy, I didn't know how to take care of my voice very well. And so by day 2 of youth convention, I was just hoarse and raspy. And
I do remember that.
I don't know exactly how I came to you on it, but I remember having a conversation with you, and you were like, oh, no, you got to do get some throat coat, and
there are very specific steps.
Friend.
And no chloroseptic spray.
Yep.
Because that almost killed my voice forever.
Yeah. Yeah, people don't think about this, but the Venn diagram of similarities between us and opera singers, it's greater than you think.
Absolutely. Especially you start getting into event speaking or conferences and stuff like that when we're doing a ton of stuff all at the same time, and or like camp or something where you're just shouting above the just cacophony of voices to try and get the attention of one teenager. It's crazy. We have to take care of our voices.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a big deal. I knew I had a positive opinion of you before I knew you because we share a really good friend.
Do you know that friend, Nick?
He does know that friend, Todd Matheson.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And so,
shout out Todd Matheson.
Shout out Todd Matheson, because, so who met his wife through my family, by the way. So you're welcome.
I think I have heard that.
Yeah. But I mean, so I knew about you through Todd, and that's how I got, and so you come highly recommended, and Todd is I love Todd, yeah. And so Todd's so close to me and my family, and so so I already had this glowing report from Todd. I thought that the first time that I met you was in Todd's backyard.
Oh, yeah.
Was it at like one of those?
Yeah, it was like one of those. I think we could just leave it at that.
Now we're gonna have them all asking what one of those was.
Was it at one of our softball?
Oh, it might have been that too.
Did you come to one of our softball team deals? Boy, this is so... podcast listeners, I'm so sorry. This is so inside baseball that we'll have to explain a few things. But Brittany, the short version was Brittany and I were on a Minneapolis Park Board softball team that won one game in 2 years. And I believe that game was on a forfeit.
It might have been.
Oh, holy cow.
To be fair, I was pregnant one of those years, so you were missing me.
And our catcher.
Yes. Because I was one of the only ones that could really catch the ball.
So, like, catcher stance while pregnant?
I wasn't allowed to play.
I was just trying to, like...
I was designated cheerleader that year.
Do the math on that.
But we had barbecues.
Right.
Before or after every game. I wonder if it was one of those.
I don't know. I just remember meeting you, and, because Todd was there.
Yeah.
When I first met you.
Yeah. Todd was our skipper.
He was.
On that team. The Tuscan Raiders.
Star Wars. Yeah.
Shout out Star Wars.
Yeah. So this podcast has been really fun to listen to. So just like tell listeners how'd this come about? Like, was it both your ideas? Did you bounce off each other? Was it one person's idea?
I have wanted to do a podcast for years, and Nick is the one who made it happen. That is the briefest, kind of version of it. Is like, I've wanted to do this for years, and Nick made it happen. Nick has edited out the number of times that I have given him props, either on the podcast or on video. It's kind of, let's call it humble.
Sure.
But the fact that he's editing out the number of times that I'm giving him props, but seriously, he really makes this happen.
I think the only thing I'll add to that is we saw an opportunity, as everyone knows, on-site ministry during COVID-19 has been weird, to say the least.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy.
And I know we were both looking for opportunities to foster community in the Word of Life congregation, and this idea had been sitting on the shelf for a little bit, and it just seemed like
now's the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then you jumped into it, and here we are. So
yeah.
I guess my next logical question would be, where do you want it to go from here? Or is it kind of still up in the air?
Well, there's a few ideas that I don't know if we can share quite yet.
Fair. I get that.
But
I mean, are you going to keep podcasting? I think is what I'd like to know.
Let me maybe put it to you this way.
Yes.
Yes. We have a list of 25 podcast ideas right now. I think the feedback we have received on this podcast has been so positive, and if I can say directly to you listeners, thank you for your comments on it, and if I can even put an extra plug, if you haven't had the opportunity to give us a 5-star rating on whatever podcast app you are listening to on us, that is super helpful. But 5-star ratings,
subscribe,
drop a comment, and that really not only helps us on those apps to be able to search for us easier, but you really are dropping little moments of encouragement for us.
Absolutely.
Nice. Let's shift a little over into Christmas, because I mean it is Christmas today, right?
Christmas Day.
I've loved listening to everybody else's favorite Christmas memories. So I'm hoping you can tell the audiences your guys' favorite Christmas memory.
Well, Jay hates Christmas.
Yeah, a little birdie has told me that.
I'm just the Scrooge. I'm a Scrooge. I'm sorry.
Or Grinch. I mean, what would you prefer? Green?
I'm pretty old school, so maybe Scrooge really works great. But see, not really, because like I don't really want everybody else. I'm not Scrooge because I don't want everybody else working on Christmas. I really want everybody to be off and having a good time with their family. I'm a huge fan of people hanging out with their family and having a good time. So it can't be Scrooge. Maybe Grinch because,
But Scrooge does, get that way at the end. I'm reading it right now with my juniors.
Are you?
So,
That's awesome.
Yeah, I know. It's fun. So.
I think the book is better.
It is. Well, I the kids are like, that didn't happen in the movie. And I was like, guys, you got to read things.
Read the book. Yes. Read the book.
I saw The Muppets.
And that's a good version.
One. That's a good one.
That's right. It's definitely abbreviated.
You have a favorite Christmas memory as a kid?
I really don't remember most of my childhood.
Are you blocking it out?
Yeah, I
It's like Pastor J hate Asbury days?
I have blocked it all out. This is kind of a weird thing to say on the podcast, but I don't remember anything prior to my lung surgery. So when I had my lung removed, it was surgical and it was traumatic. And so
how old were you?
I was 11, 12, 13, something in that age. I can't remember. My mom will tell me. So what I do for stories from my childhood is I really rely on my family. And so if I tell a childhood story, and I have already gone back to my mom, my brother, or my sister. My sister's got an amazing memory, and I've said, "Hey, can you tell me about this? Can you tell me the story of this happening?" And they retell the stories of my childhood, because I really don't remember. So I can say, I've got some fun one of my favorite memories of Christmas is we moved to California and we didn't want to drop the dollars, and it was outrageously expensive to buy a Christmas tree in California. And so we went to IKEA and we bought a palm tree, and we put lights and ornaments on a palm tree in California,
awesome.
Which was great. And I think I don't know if it was that year or the year after, that for Christmas dinner, we had a 6-foot burrito. There's a burrito shop that catered, and we bought, it was not just our family, it was other families. Shout out to the McKays, because the McKays were awesome. They made us family when we were out in California when we needed family. And it was the McKays, it was us, it was other families involved as well. And we had a 6-foot burrito for Christmas because we're in California.
But those are the ones that you, like you said, you remember though, because they were different than other.
Isn't that what the Cratchits had in Our Christmas Carol? Was a burrito?
I don't think so.
It was.
But I might have missed that part when we were.
She probably wasn't in a burrito club.
Yeah. So Nick, do you have a favorite memory?
A favorite Christmas memory, man. I don't know if I have something necessarily super specific. There's not one Christmas that really jumps out to me, but I think it's like the little things. Christmas is all about the traditions that you make for a lot of folks. I think we learned that in Becky's episode. Right? She's talking about all these Christmas traditions, and that was kind of the same thing for us, and I'm sure Brittany would say the same thing for your family. The traditions in my family, I think we mentioned in Jared's episode, is I remember as a kid, my great-grandpa Arlo and my grandpa Bob and myself, Grandpa Arlo would bake a chunk of lutefisk.
Yes.
At Christmas Eve, and it felt kind of special to eat it with those guys, and I was like,
it was special.
I was like, I loved it. I don't know, lutefisk and I always got along though.
I can't even stand the smell of it.
So is lutefisk going to be baked in the Olson home this Christmas?
Depends on who has the say.
Not this Christmas, but it will be. We'll
Someday it'll be baked. Okay.
Since this is a Lutheran church podcast, maybe we can talk lutefisk for a second. My grandparents went to First Lutheran Church in Williston, and they had a massive lutefisk dinner fundraiser every year, and I got to come alongside my grandpa when I was kind of.
Did a lutefisk dinner fundraiser raise funds?
Oh, they were doing so many meals, and people were calling in to get lutefisk takeout, and they were delivering lutefisk all over the city of Williston. It was incredible. I usually overestimate the pounds of something like this.
Yeah.
But I do remember, I believe they bought a half a ton of lutefisk.
What?
They had it in this tank that was like the size of like a Camry. It was incredible.
A vat of lutefisk.
A vat of lutefisk. And
how do you get rid of the smell of that?
Well, yeah, right. Good question. I don't think they found an answer yet.
You hide it in a landfill.
There were two pieces of advice that were given to me about lutefisk that during those times. One of them was this, is when I would help cook the lutefisk, they had it in almost like deep fryers, but instead of the oil, that's where they would boil water. Mm-hmm. You'd boil the lutefisk, and then you pull the fry basket out, and it'd have all the cooked lutefisk in it, and then you would transport it into serving dishes, and inevitably some would drop onto the floor or onto your shoes. And I have a really distinct memory of, at the end of the night, we get back to the house, and Grandpa Bob, he always wore these kind of like Wolverine boots, right? Because they had bad ankles. And he took like a steel wire brush, and it was like scraping the lutefisk off. This like congealed, hardened lutefisk off of his boots. It was incredible.
I'd buy new shoes.
The other piece of lutefisk advice that Grandpa Bob, he was full of advice. And Grandpa Bob said that while you eat lutefisk, they always serve it with like a dinner roll, and you gotta have the roll.
Okay.
Because you need a plug so that lutefisk doesn't crawl back up on you. And my grandpa said that to me as like a 12-year-old boy. I'm thinking this fish jello is gonna sneak right back up on you.
Just expands.
Pack it back down.
It just expands in your stomach and works back up.
That advice says it all that needs to be said.
It's
for me.
Yeah, so I just have memories of kind of special food like that, and playing cards, and I have a lot of memories of spending it with my grandparents. That was kind of a special time. So yeah, I don't have like a specific one, but it was the same every year, and I loved that, and yeah.
Nice. So Christmas, at this point we've had our Christmas Eve service, but I'm just curious for probably more maybe for Pastor Jay, just because you've done it more. It's one of the biggest days of the year where you pull people in that probably haven't come to church before, right? So how do you keep it fresh every year? And you can't skip the story. It's an important one. So.
And it's not changing.
No. So as a teacher, I think for me too, I just am interested in how you keep it fresh for yourself, and how you kind of go about that, getting ready for the Christmas Eve service.
I think that keeping it fresh for myself is the point, actually, because I'm the only one who's speaking on it every year, whereas everybody is, who I talk to at Christmas, they are coming with very specific expectations. They want to hear about the birth of Jesus. They want to hear why we are in church, on this night. They want to hear maybe more importantly than hearing me, they want to hear Silent Night.
It's a good one.
Oh,
with the candles.
I have been told. I have been told. Any attempt to change the last song is sacrilege.
I can't. You know what, Jerry? I can't imagine anybody ever suggesting that you would end a Christmas Eve service with anything other than Silent Night.
Okay, in my defense, Go Tell It on the Mountain is a really good song. Why would we not want to end the service and Go Tell It on the Mountain?
I'm trying to remember what it is at my grandparents' church that we always go to. I know you do Silent Night, and that's with the candles, but I don't think they end with that. So, I mean, I guess I'm with you, Jay. On that.
So I think
you're wading into waters that
I don't want to wade into. Got it. Check. Got it.
Shark infested. But keeping it fresh, I think it is all about actually, continuing to point to Jesus, and I think that Jesus and his birth are huge, and so the opportunity for us to point at him can come from a bunch of different directions. And for me, that's one of the fun things, is to point at Jesus from a different direction.
Yeah. So you guys have been focusing with each of your guests around, I believe, hope, peace, joy, love. Am I forgetting one? Or is that the four?
Jesus.
Yes, in Jesus. And I think you've asked everybody, I think they've all come on to talk about one in specific, but then you've also asked them what their favorite is, I think. Mm-hmm. So do you guys have a favorite?
I think it changes every year. This year...
I know what yours is this year.
Yeah, this year mine has been hope. I think about hope. I think about hope almost every day right now. I was just telling this to our Wayfarer students last night, that no matter your politics, no matter what you necessarily feel about it, but that image of that 90-year-old gal in England getting that shot in her arm,
it was kind of special. Yeah,
it was. And I've been thinking about all of these news stories of 2020 has felt pretty hopeless.
Pretty rough.
And we know, sitting around this table, that does the COVID-19 vaccine provide hope eternal? No. I think everyone, speaking of hope, everyone's hope is that if you're going to get the vaccine, you get the shot, and then all this is going to go away.
Life gets back to normal.
That's the hope. Normal. But life wasn't perfect pre-COVID either.
No.
We all had rocky relationships or financial troubles or whatever your problem du jour was. And so, yeah, it's cool. It's extremely cool to see hope in this very specific temporary thing, and how much that only amplifies the hope we find in Christ.
Yeah.
So hope has been mine this year.
Absolutely. And I know that hope has been yours. And I think that if we were to look long term, my favorite would be peace, which seems kind of strange because I'm not really a peaceful person. But I'd say that this year, especially, it is love. I find myself ending, conversations just reminding people that they are loved. You're loved. Even in the midst of this, you are loved. And first and foremost, saying you are loved rather than just I love you. Because my hope is that people are getting a greater sense that they are loved by the God of the universe. that they are loved by his son, Jesus Christ, and that they are loved by, the church, by Word of Life Church and the people there, and that they are loved by me and my family, But I think I just find myself coming back to this sentence and just reminding people, no matter what they're going through this year, you are loved.
Yeah, I think, it's, I teach, and so that really hit my heart, because we're watching, or we just read The Greatest Gift, which is the play version of the It's a Wonderful Life. And one of my kids today was like, I know, I love it. I'm so sad I'm missing watching it with them. But that was one of their things, is they're like, we're just super important, all of us, for our own reasons. And when you were saying that, I was just like, oh, I love my kids. I miss them so much. I want to kind of push this back into your guys' hands so you can kind of take over for the end here. But, I think the end of the year and Christmas time also makes us look forward to the future. So what are you guys most looking forward to in this next year, and in the adventures for Word of Life, or your own adventures? And then I'll let you guys kind of take over from there.
Well, certainly I think we are really excited. I think 2021, you read about the year of Jubilee in the Old Testament, and talk about going through these seasons of famine and seasons of hard time, and they would come to this time of just utter celebration. I think that 2021, people are ready for just a sigh of relief. And then maybe we're going to listen back to this a year from now, next Christmas, and we're going to be like, wow, you guys had no idea what you were talking about.
I hope not.
But I think those loved ones that you haven't gotten to see are going to be really, really special moments of 2021. So I'm ready. I'm just ready to celebrate all of our old relationships that we haven't gotten to see, and for new ones as well.
Yeah. What I'm really looking forward to is connection. And, as you're talking, I'm thinking about my parents. I have not seen my parents since Becca's wedding, in March. And, I haven't seen my brother or my sister since then. It's been a long time. There's a ton of people, but even tonight, bumped into Amber, and she stopped, looked at me, and she's like, I don't remember the last time I saw you. And I am really looking forward to connection. And I'd say that if there is anything on the future plans for the ministry of Word of Life, is just increased connection. I realize that 2020 has been, a year in which we have been learning a lot, and we're trying to be creative about connection. And I mean, honestly, this podcast is has grown out of that, is just trying to create more opportunities for connection, just touch points. And so I think that, the connection is one of the big themes that I have as I'm looking at 2021 and what Word of Life and our ministry is going to look like. It's going to just look a lot about connection.
Well, thank you for letting me come on and interview you guys. I think this is a very fun thing for Word of Life. So,
to be clear, though, I mean, you are on every podcast.
Yeah. If folks haven't figured out by now, Brittany is the voice.
That's right. She intros the podcast every week.
So, thank you for your voiceover work.
You're welcome. I didn't know I could do that, but it worked out.
The resume.
That's right.
Check.
It was awesome. and we're having a great time. So
we can tell.
we really hope this isn't going to be your last time, hopping onto the podcast with us and hanging out.
Oh, I would hope not. I'm hoping I get invited back, but I'm looking over at my husband right now, seeing if I get the nod or not.
Actually, we both have another episode planned, and you are an integral part of it.
Oh boy, that makes me
you're on our
nervous.
You're on our list.
The list. Is it a good thing to be on the list?
It is a great thing to be on the
list.
list.
It's a good list to be on. That's a good list to be on. So, well, Word of Life listeners, Word of Life, and folks who are checking out this podcast, thank you for joining us today.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah, like we said,
Merry
this is coming out on Christmas. So if you're catching it today on the 25th, or if you're catching it later, blessings to you during this holiday season. And we hope to see you real soon.
And as a reminder, no matter who you are or where you are loved.